White Medium Star Part 1, the moment she said it. Have you ever had someone look you in the eyes and tell you that you don't deserve anything? Not love. Not recognition. Not even the legacy your own father meant for you? Because that's exactly what my mother did. The day the will was read, she sat at the head of the table. Like a queen sitting on a throne she didn't earn. Perfect hair. Perfect posture. Perfect fake smile. But her eyes, they were knives. The lawyer placed Dad's will on the mahogany table. And before he could even open it, my mother slammed her palm over the envelope. So hard the glasses on the table rattled. She leaned in, face inches from mine, and whispered, slowly, deliberately, "You won't get a single cent." My brother, Mark, smirked behind her like a trained lapdog. His wife, Amanda, pretended to be sympathetic. But her eyes were glittering with satisfaction. These people, my own family, were celebrating my exclusion. Before the will was even opened, I stared at my mother. Calm. Still. Expressionless. Because while she thought she had total control, while she believed she and Mark had secured everything, she didn't know what I knew. Dad left something behind. Not in the will, but in a place only I could find. And soon, every lie she built her world on would crumble. But first, I had to let her play her part. White Medium Star 2 weeks earlier, when everything shifted. Dad passed away quietly. In his sleep. Lung complications. Old age. A peaceful exit from a world that had never stopped demanding from him. He was the only person who ever loved me without conditions. My mother loved appearances. My brother loved money. My father loved me. And he never hid it. Maybe that's why my mother resented me. From the moment I took my first breath. 2 days after he died, I visited his study. A room Mom always avoided. And Mark only entered when he wanted something. The study smelled like paper, cedar, and the faint echo of old music. I touched Dad's photo frame, traced the grooves on his antique desk, and then noticed something odd. His leather armchair was pulled slightly away from the bookshelf. Dad was meticulous. His chair was always perfectly aligned. I moved the chair back. And that's when I heard it. A click. A hidden panel popped open at the base of the bookshelf. My breath hitched. Dad never mentioned a secret compartment. Inside was a small wooden box. And a single brass key. The box had my name carved into it. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a letter sealed with wax. My father's seal. I didn't dare open it yet. Not until I understood the weight of it. But if Dad hid something so carefully, it meant he feared something carefully. And that fear had a name. My mother. White Medium Star. Back to the will reading. The performance begins. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mrs. Davenport, your husband's will. My husband, she corrected sharply, wanted what's best for this family. Let's not waste time. Her voice always sounded sweet enough for outsiders, but sharp enough to cut skin if you stood too close. The lawyer looked at me sympathetically, then opened the envelope. Dad's beautiful handwriting filled the pages. I swallowed the ache in my throat. But before the lawyer could speak, my brother leaned forward. Let's just skip to the important part, Mark said. The house. The business. The trust. Dad made it clear where those should go. Amanda nodded eagerly. Mom smiled. That cold, triumphant smile. I clenched my hands in my lap, reminding myself not to react. The lawyer sighed. Fine. Per Mr. Davenport's written and notarized wishes. He read. I leave the main estate, consisting of the family home and surrounding acreage. To my wife, Eleanor Davenport. Mom's chin lifted proudly. Mark grinned. Amanda's leg bounced like she couldn't contain herself. The lawyer continued. I leave Davenport Logistics. To my son, Mark Davenport. Mark exhaled, satisfied. Amanda squeezed his hand. Mom reached over and patted his shoulder like he'd won a trophy. Then the room went silent. Because the next line wasn't what they expected. Not at all. White medium star, the first crack in their plan. The lawyer cleared his throat again. And to my daughter, Emily. My mother's eyes flicked to me. With a glare sharp enough to kill. I leave. He paused. Mom leaned forward, ready to interrupt. Mark smirked. Amanda mouthed, nothing. I braced myself. The lawyer finished. I leave my intellectual property. Creative works, documents. Unpublished autobiographical materials. And 2 key holdings. Listed in an addendum letter. To be executed privately. Mom's eyebrows shot up. Mark frowned. Amanda blinked, confused. What does that mean? Mom snapped. The lawyer hesitated. Your husband placed an addendum with instructions. For certain assets to be delivered directly. And privately. To Emily. Mom's face drained of color. That isn't right, she said sharply. There was no addendum. My husband told me everything. The lawyer cut her off gently. Mrs. Davenport. He filed this addendum himself. I wasn't allowed to open it. Until after his death. And what is in it? She demanded. He held up a sealed envelope. With the intended beneficiary, Emily Davenport. Mom lunged across the table. Grabbing the envelope. But the lawyer slammed his hand over it. Ma'am, do not touch legal documents that are not addressed to you. Her eyes flamed with rage. It was the first time I had ever seen her lose control in public. Mark sat up straight. What is this exactly? He demanded. Amanda leaned in, whispering. Maybe it's poetry or something. You know how she likes artsy things. Dad's intellectual property didn't sound important to them. Which meant they had no idea what Dad truly left behind. Or where he hid the real bomb. White medium star MOM shows her real face, and loses the room. Mom's voice dropped into a terrifying whisper. Emily does not get special treatment. Do you understand me? She didn't even look at the lawyer now. She stared directly at me. You don't deserve anything, she hissed. You never have. The lawyer froze. Mark looked embarrassed. Amanda looked thrilled. I breathed in slowly. Because while my mother thought her cruelty would crush me, she didn't know something important. Dad warned me this day would come. And he prepared me in a way she could never have imagined. White medium star the moment the room turned against her. The lawyer cleared his throat loudly. And placed a second document on the table. Mrs. Davenport, he said. Your husband also left a video recording. To be played only if disputes arose. During the will reading. Mom stiffened. Disputes? We're not disputing. But she had already done exactly that. The lawyer inserted the USB into a small projector. The screen lit up. My father appeared. Alive. Calm. Looking directly into the camera. I held my breath. Mom froze. Mark leaned forward. Amanda gripped his arm. Dad took a deep breath and said, if you're watching this, it means Eleanor is trying to take what was not meant for her. Mom's face drained of all color. The lawyer pressed pause. Should I continue? He asked. Mom shook her head violently. But I whispered. Loud enough for the whole room to hear. Yes. Dad's video continued. And what he revealed next would destroy every lie Mom built her life on. Mark's mouth fell open. Amanda gasped. The lawyer's eyes widened. And my mother? She whispered one word. A word I'd never heard from her lips. A word that meant she finally, fully realized. She had lost control. She whispered. No. Because Dad was about to expose. Not just his intentions. But my mother's darkest secret. Silence wrapped around the room like a vice. The screen froze on my father's face. Calm, steady, and more alive in that moment than any of us had expected to see again. My mother trembled. Not with grief. Not with sadness. With fear. Real, bone-deep fear. Because Dad never left anything unfinished. And if he recorded a message for this exact moment, it meant he already knew exactly how today would unfold. The lawyer pressed play again. Dad leaned forward slightly in the recording. White medium star Dad's message, the truth begins. If you're watching this, it means Eleanor is trying to take what does not belong to her. Mom inhaled sharply. I want it on record that I changed my will because I saw what was happening in my family. Mark shifted uncomfortably. Amanda's eyes narrowed. Dad continued. My daughter Emily has been treated as less. Dismissed. Undermined. Made to believe she was unworthy. My stomach tightened. Dad. You knew. This treatment was not accidental. It was deliberate. It was cruel. And it came from someone close to me. Mom's face turned white. She whispered, Robert, don't, to the screen. As if he could hear her. Eleanor, Dad said slowly. You and I both know exactly what you did. Amanda covered her mouth. Mark shook his head. No. Dad wouldn't, he couldn't. But Dad wasn't done. White medium star Mom's first secret revealed. For years, I watched you manipulate Emily's self-worth. Tell her she was weak. Tell her she had no talent. Tell her she brought nothing to the table. Mom gripped the table so hard. Her knuckles turned white. I watched you praise Mark. No matter what he did. Even when he failed. Even when he lied. Even when he hurt others. Mark stiffened. Amanda slowly turned toward him. Dad's voice softened. Not with affection. But with disappointment. But when you encouraged Mark to take money from the company. And then blame Emily. That was it. My breath hitched. Amanda's eyes went wide. You what? She said sharply to Mark. He swallowed hard. Dad misunderstood. I didn't. Mom said. Amanda leaned away from him. As if he were radioactive. White medium star MOM breaks, the room turns on her. Mom snapped. That's a lie, she screamed at the computer screen. He's lying. He wasn't in his right mind. He was sick, he didn't know what he was saying. But Grayson paused the video. Mrs. Davenport, he said calmly. This recording was made 11 months before your husband's diagnosis. Mom's scream died in her throat. Everyone looked at her. Mark's face was pure panic. Mom, he whispered. What did you do? Her eyes darted wildly. I did nothing. Emily is twisting this. Robert was confused. The more she spoke, the more she dug her own grave. And she knew it. White medium star the addendum, my father's final weapon. The lawyer placed the sealed addendum envelope in front of me. Mom lunged again. No. You cannot open that. I am his wife. I have rights. The lawyer held up a hand. You have no rights to documents not addressed to you. Mom was shaking so hard. The table rattled. I didn't break eye contact with her. As I lifted the envelope, the wax seal broke with a soft crack. Inside was a handwritten note. And another envelope. Dad's note read, Emily. This is the truth your mother never wanted you to know. Read it privately if you want. But know that you have every right to claim what is yours. My heart pounded. Dad. What did you know? Before I could read it, Mark slammed his hands on the table. This is ridiculous, he shouted. This is a setup. Dad wouldn't leave Emily anything important. She didn't do anything for the business. Amanda grabbed his arm. Mark, shut up. He jerked away from her. You're taking her side? I'm taking the side with facts, she snapped. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Davenport. Your father left very explicit instructions regarding this addendum. Mark rolled his eyes. Whatever. It's probably a journal. Or some stupid charity paperwork she helped with. Amanda stared at me. What did your father leave you? Mom lunged again. You are not allowed to open that. And that's when she said it. The words that would expose everything. White medium star, the sentence that destroyed her. Mom grabbed my wrist with iron force and snarled. You were never meant to get anything. Robert promised it would all go to Mark. The room froze. The lawyer stood so fast. His chair flew backward. Mrs. Davenport, he said sharply. Your statement is a direct admission that you interfered in the will-making process. Mom gasped. No. That's not what I meant. I meant. But Grayson didn't let her recover. You pressured your husband to leave everything to your son. That's not. You don't understand. You told Emily she would never get anything. She didn't deserve. That is exactly why. Your husband created this addendum. Mom's face collapsed. Her mask shattered. She sank into the chair. As if someone had unplugged her spine. White medium star, Mark panics, and the family breaks. Mark turned on her instantly. You promised me the company. You said Dad trusted me. You said. Mom cried out. I did it for you. Mark shouted. I didn't ask you to ruin the will. I didn't ask you to manipulate Dad. I didn't ask you to. He stopped. Because everyone's eyes were on him now. Amanda stood abruptly. You stole from the company. And blamed your sister? He swallowed. I didn't know what else to do. Mom said. Don't blame me. Mom shrieked. You never would have survived without me. You needed me. You need me. Amanda stepped back from him. You two are monsters. Mark's face twisted. Amanda, please. No, she said. I'm not being part of this. White medium star back to me, the moment of revelation. All eyes turned back to me. As I opened Dad's inner envelope. Inside were. Heavy checkmark, a storage locker key. Heavy checkmark, a notarized statement. Heavy checkmark, a handwritten note addressed only to me. My hands trembled as I unfolded Dad's note. It read. Emily. The truth has always been yours. Your mother hid something from you. For 25 years. It's time you knew who you really are. And what your birthright is. Go to the locker. Alone. Everything will make sense. My mother screamed. No. No, please. Emily, Please. Don't go there. Everyone stared at her. Even Mark. Even Amanda. Even the lawyer. A truth this big. A truth she begged me not to uncover. A truth Dad hid in a literal locker. My voice came out calm and cold. What's in that locker? Mom shook violently. No. No. Emily. You don't need to know. It will ruin everything. I leaned closer. Mom. What did you do? And then she broke. Not with anger this time. With terror. She whispered. If you open that locker, you will hate me. For the rest of your life. A chill ran down my spine. Because that wasn't guilt. That wasn't regret. That was fear of exposure. The kind that destroys families. The kind that rewrites identities. The kind that only the dead man who loved me could have prepared for. Some truths whisper. Others scream. But the truth waiting for me in that locker. It didn't whisper or scream. It detonated. It shook the foundation of everything I believed about my family. About my mother, my father, my brother. And myself. When my father said, "It's time you knew who you really are," I thought he meant something simple. Maybe a forgotten trust fund. Maybe a hidden property. Maybe proof Mom manipulated him. But when I stepped into that cold concrete storage unit, the air smelled like dust, metal, and a past buried too long. And the moment I turned the key, I knew my life would never be the same again. White medium star. The storage unit opens, a room full of secrets. The metal door screeched upward. The space was small, dimly lit by a single flickering bulb. Stacks of boxes lined the walls. But every box was labeled. Not business. Not estate. Labeled. E. Just a single letter. My letter. My name. My initial. I whispered, "Dad, what did you do?" I reached for the first box. Inside. Heavy checkmark baby clothes. Heavy checkmark hospital bracelets. Heavy checkmark old photo envelopes. Heavy checkmark a lock of hair in a tiny envelope labeled first trim. Heavy checkmark newspaper clippings. But then, my hand touched something heavier. A folder sealed with a red string. It read, "Confidential, Emily's records." My heart pounded so loud it echoed. I opened the folder. And everything tipped sideways. White medium star. The birth certificate that didn't match. Inside the folder was a birth certificate. But not the one my mother kept framed in her bedroom. Not the one she showed neighbors. Or used to brag about how painful my birth was. And how she almost died bringing me into this world. This certificate was different. Different hospital. Different doctor. And under mother's name. It didn't say Eleanor Davenport. It said, "Unknown, see attached document." I froze. My breath stopped. Attached was another paper. A handwritten note from Dad. E. This is nothing to fear. The truth was never meant to hurt you. It was meant to free you. I swallowed hard. My hands moved to the next document. And the world blurred. White medium star. The truth of my real mother. A registered birth intake form. Signed by Rebecca Hale. A name I didn't know. A name Mom never spoke. A name Dad never mentioned. Next to the signature was a line. Child placed in temporary custody of Robert Davenport. Another line below. Mother unfit for postnatal care, medical emergency. I stared at the page. "No," I whispered. "That can't be. Dad, you would have told me if." "No. But the next envelope was even worse. It contained photos. Photos Mom never wanted me to see. White medium star, the photos that broke everything open. A young woman, mid-20s. Long dark hair. Soft eyes. Warm smile. Holding a newborn baby. Holding me. In every photo. Me in her arms. Me wrapped against her chest. Me sleeping on her shoulder. On the back of each photo, Dad had written the same thing. Emily and Rebecca, day 1. Emily and Rebecca, day 2. My heart cracked. Who was this woman? Why did Mom hide her? Why did Dad hide her? And why? Why did Mom look terrified when Dad mentioned I'd discover the truth? My fingers trembled as I picked up the last photograph. It was of Dad, holding both Rebecca and me. His face was full of joy, rest, peace. But written on the back was something else. Something that shattered me completely. Our family, before Eleanor found out. My knees buckled. I grabbed the edge of a box. The world spun. What did that mean? Before she found out what? What did Mom do? I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. But Dad knew I had to know. At the bottom of the folder was a brown sealed envelope marked Emily, when you're ready. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside, a letter. And a police report. And a restraining order. White medium star, the restraining order, what Mom tried to erase. The restraining order was filed 26 years ago. The signature at the bottom? Eleanor Davenport. Against Rebecca Hale. Reason: harassment and attempted intrusion. My stomach flipped. What intrusion? What harassment? Then the note from Dad explained everything. White medium star, Dad's letter, the truth he protected me from. I unfolded it slowly. Dad's handwriting wavered, as if he had written through tears. Emily, your birth was not simple. It was not peaceful. And it was not something your mother ever accepted. You were not Eleanor's child. You were Rebecca's. The world stopped moving. Stopped breathing. This was impossible. Dad continued. Rebecca loved you. She wanted to raise you. But she had complications during labor. She was sedated for days. The hospital placed you in my care. As her emergency contact. Eleanor found out. And everything changed. My heart hammered so loud. I thought it would rupture. Eleanor could not have children. When she found out about you. My child with Rebecca. She demanded to raise you. As her own. I dropped the letter. It fluttered to the floor. My vision blurred. Mom couldn't have children? She demanded to raise me? She forced Dad to cut Rebecca out? I picked up the letter again. Dad concluded. Rebecca tried to fight for you. She begged to see you. She even tried to take you home once. When she believed she had recovered enough. Eleanor filed a restraining order. The court sided with her because she had resources. And Rebecca had none. I covered my mouth. I tried to fix it. I tried to fight. But I failed both of you. I could not protect Rebecca. And I could not protect you. From Eleanor's manipulation. And then. The part that broke me the most. Emily. Your mother didn't hate you. She hated what you represented. The child she could never have. The proof of my love for someone else. And the reminder. That Rebecca never got to raise you. My hands shook so violently. I almost dropped the letter again. But the last line. It cut deepest. Rebecca never stopped loving you. And she never stopped trying to reach you. I hope that one day. You will try to find her. I sank to the floor, surrounded by boxes labeled with my initial. My real history. My real mother's photos. And my father's grief. Etched in every word he left behind. White medium star back at the house, the confrontation. I drove home in a haze. Mom and Mark were still in the lawyer's office, arguing with Grayson. When I walked in, Mom went silent. When she saw my face, she whispered, "Emily, you opened the locker." I didn't answer. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. "What did you see?" she whispered. My voice barely came out. "The truth." Her face crumpled. "Emily. Please. You don't understand. I did what I had to. I did it for all of us." No, I said quietly. "You did it for yourself." Mark stared at her. "Mom. What did you do?" She looked between us. Her son. Her stolen daughter. And then she said the words. That confirmed everything. Words she had run from for 25 years. She whispered. "I took you, Emily. I took you because I couldn't stand that your father loved someone else." Mark stepped back in horror. Amanda gasped. I inhaled sharply. "You took me," I repeated. "You destroyed Rebecca's life. You destroyed Dad's peace. You destroyed everything." Mom sobbed. "I loved you." "No," I said. "You controlled me." She collapsed to her knees. And for the first time in my life, I saw her for who she truly was. Not a mother. Not a villain. A lonely, fragile woman who committed an unforgivable act out of jealousy and desperation. But her regret didn't erase her cruelty. And it didn't erase the truth. I now had the power to reveal. Some confrontations feel like you're walking into a battlefield. Others feel like you're walking into a graveyard. This one felt like both. When Mom confessed. When she said the words. "I took you, Emily." The world didn't just tilt. It split. Mark stood frozen. Like someone had turned him to stone. Amanda's hand slipped out of his. Grayson, who had walked into the room behind us, clutched his briefcase like he'd walked into a violation of natural law. Mom knelt on the floor. A woman who had built her entire identity on control. Now shattered by the truth she couldn't outrun anymore. But even with her crying at my feet, I didn't feel triumph. I felt empty. Burnt out. Numb. Hollow. 25 years of lies take more than a tearful confession to heal. White medium star the evidence, and the mother who can't run anymore. I placed the envelope and documents on the center of the table. The birth certificate. The photos. The restraining order. The letter from Dad. All of it. Mom froze when she saw the paperwork. Her hands shook violently. "No. No. You brought them here. Why would you?" "Emily, please." I cut her off. My voice was ice. "You lied to me for my entire life." She sobbed. "I did it to protect you." Her voice cracked. "I did it because I loved you." "Stop." I nearly yelled it. "Don't use the word love to excuse kidnapping." Mark gasped. "Kidnapping?" he whispered, horrified. Mom flinched like I'd struck her. "I did not kidnap you. You weren't stable with Rebecca. She was sick. She was broke. She was." Grayson cleared his throat sharply. "Mrs. Davenport," he said. "According to these documents, Rebecca Hale was recovering from postnatal complications. Not mentally unstable. Not dangerous. Not unfit. Mom's eyes widened. I only did what any mother would do. I saved her child. I saved you. You stole me. I cried. You told everyone I was yours. You forged documents. You filed a restraining order. To keep my real mother away. Mom's breath broke. And then she whispered. I did it because I was afraid your father would leave me. Silence crashed over the room. And for the first time, I understood the core of her cruelty. Fear. Possessiveness. Jealousy. None of it justified. None of it forgivable. But understandable in the darkest, ugliest way possible. White medium star Mark breaks, and takes a side. Mark staggered back. Hands in his hair. So all this time, you hated Emily. Because she wasn't biologically yours? Mom cried harder. I loved her. No, you didn't, Mark snapped. You never treated her like you loved her. You treated her like she was a reminder. Mom's sob turned into a scream. I was broken. I couldn't have children. I watched your father love someone else. Love a woman who could give him a child. And then I saw her holding Emily in the hospital. I couldn't take it. I couldn't. Mark's face crumpled with disgust. I can't believe you did this. Amanda stepped forward. Mark. You need to breathe. But he shook her off. No. I need to get away from her. Mom reached for him desperately. Mark. Baby. Please. He jerked away from her touch. Don't call me that. Her face collapsed. For the first time in our lives. Mark wasn't on her side. He was on mine. White medium star the legal bomb drops. Grayson reveals everything. Grayson removed his glasses. Mrs. Davenport. What you did may be beyond statute of limitations for kidnapping. But the fraud, the forged documents, the obstruction, are not. Mom's head shot up. No. No. You can't. I'm your client. You are not my client, Grayson snapped. I represented Robert Davenport. And I represent the estate. Mom's mouth fell open. I can't be prosecuted. I did what I had to. You can be investigated, he said coldly. And you will be. She trembled violently. No. No, please. Emily, tell him. Tell him you don't want me in trouble. Tell him. I stared at her. The woman who raised me. The woman who hurt me. The woman who stole me. And I felt something deeply tragic. I didn't know her. Not really. I didn't know her at all. I didn't know the woman who ripped apart another family. Who forced my father into silence. Who built her motherhood on someone else's child. She wasn't a mother. She was a frightened child. In a grown woman's body. Making monstrous choices. Out of desperation. But desperation doesn't erase consequences. White medium star Rebecca's fate, the final blow. Amanda looked at Grayson. Where is Rebecca? Emily's mother. Is she alive? My breath hitched. I hadn't thought about that. I looked at Grayson. His face softened. And that terrified me. Emily, he said gently. Your father left another paper for you. He handed me a thin, sealed envelope. I opened it slowly. Inside. A printed obituary. A date. A name. Rebecca Hale, passed away 7 years ago. My vision blurred. I whispered. She's gone. Grayson nodded. She never stopped trying to reach you. But Eleanor blocked every attempt. Until Rebecca eventually stopped fighting. and moved away. Mom sobbed. I didn't want to lose you. I turned on her sharply. You didn't want to lose Dad. Her cries broke into hiccups. But I wasn't done. Grayson placed another envelope in front of me. Your father planned for this. Inside. A letter from the social worker who handled the case. Another from Rebecca. Written years before she died. I opened Rebecca's letter with trembling hands. It said, Emily. You don't know me. But I have loved you your entire life. I hope you grew up happy. I hope you grew up safe. I hope one day you find the truth. Without anger in your heart. Love. Your mother. Rebecca. My chest collapsed. I sank into the chair, sobbing quietly. The mother I never knew. The mother I never got to meet. The mother Mom stole from me. Amanda touched my shoulder gently. Mark stood frozen, tears streaming down his face. Mom was on the floor, begging for forgiveness. But for the first time ever, I wasn't the fragile one. I wasn't the child begging for love. I was the adult deciding the fate of the woman who stole my identity. White medium star the decision, destroy her or protect the family name. The lawyer spoke softly. Emily. Because your father left you these documents. You have a choice to make. Mom looked up desperately. Emily. Please. Don't ruin us. Don't ruin yourself. He continued. You can take this to court. Expose everything. Seek legal action. Pursue charges. Have your birth mother's rights acknowledged. Correct your legal identity. Mom gasped. No. No. Please, Emily. If you do that, I'll lose everything. My home. My reputation. My freedom. Mark stepped away from her. Amanda didn't move. They were waiting for my choice. The woman who stole me was begging me to protect her. My real mother had begged the world to give me back. 2 mothers. 2 worlds. 2 choices. Grayson repeated quietly. You decide, Emily. I lifted my head. My tears dried. My voice was steady. Cold. Final. And Mom clutched her chest. Because she knew. Whatever I chose next would rewrite her entire life. Forever. There are moments in life where you feel yourself split. Not in half. But into 2 versions of yourself. One who still aches, still clings, still hopes. And one who is finally ready to let it all burn. When Grayson said, You decide, Emily. The room held its breath. Mom was kneeling on the floor. Her mascara streaked. Her hands trembling. Her face swollen from sobbing. Mark stood behind her. Pale, shattered. Like he was watching the entire foundation of his life crumble. Amanda watched silently. As if witnessing history unfold. The truth was on the table. The evidence was undeniable. And the decision was mine. White medium star the decision, mercy or justice. My mother whispered. Emily. Please. Don't ruin me. She said me. Not us. Not family. Just her. The entire room waited. My voice came out calm. Steady. Nothing like the girl she raised to be silent. I won't protect you. Mom's eyes widened in horror. I won't lie for you. I won't hide what you did. I won't continue the life you built on my stolen identity. She shook her head violently. No. No, Emily, think. Think of your reputation. Your future. You don't want people knowing. I cut her off sharply. You mean I don't want people knowing that I'm not your daughter? She flinched like I'd slapped her. I leaned forward. I'm done hiding, Mark whispered. Broken. So you're really doing this? I nodded. Mom started sobbing uncontrollably. Emily. I raised you. I fed you. I gave you everything. I stared at her. You raised me. But you never loved me. You controlled me. Manipulated me. Compared me. Belittled me. Punished me. Made me feel like a burden. Mom cried harder. I only wanted a family. No, I said. You wanted ownership. She collapsed onto the floor again. And for the first time in my life, I didn't reach out to help her. I let her fall. White medium star legal consequences begin. Grayson acts. Grayson cleared his throat gently, pulling out his phone. I'll contact the estate judge and the district attorney's office. Mom screamed. Panicked. Feral. No. No, please. I didn't mean to. I was desperate. Don't call them. Emily, stop him. I didn't. Mark sank into a chair. Amanda closed her eyes. Mom rushed toward me. But Mark grabbed her shoulders tightly. Mom. Stop. She looked at him in disbelief. You're taking her side? Mark didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just whispered. I'm taking the truth's side. Mom froze. Mark continued. You didn't just hurt Emily. You hurt Dad. You hurt Rebecca. You hurt me. She shook her head. Mark, baby, no. I did it for us. Mark stepped away from her. No. You did it for you. Mom let out a guttural cry. And then she realized something. No one in that room belonged to her anymore. Not even the son she worshipped. White medium star, the shocking clause in the will. Grayson cleared his throat. There's one more thing. Your father left behind, Emily. My heart skipped. Another secret? He opened a sealed file. This is an amendment. Your father wrote. 6 months before he died. Mom looked terrified. No. No, what now? Grayson read. If the truth of my daughter's identity is ever revealed, and if Eleanor Davenport is proven to have taken actions against the interests of my daughter, or her biological mother, the following must occur. The room leaned in. Grayson continued. 1. Emily receives 70% of the estate. 2. Mark receives 20%. 3. Eleanor receives nothing. The room exploded. Mark's jaw dropped. Amanda gasped. Mom screamed. No. No, he can't. He can't do that. He can't take everything. It's my life. But Grayson wasn't done. 4. Emily receives full controlling interest in Davenport Logistics. Mark turned white. Dad. Dad gave you the company? I nodded slowly. Emotion surged through me. Relief. Shock. Validation. But also sadness. Dad had always wanted to protect me. More than he wanted to punish them. He had prepared for this day. White medium star Mom's last attempt to fight. Mom lunged toward the desk, grabbing the documents. You're all lying. This was forged. Emily tricked him. She brainwashed him. Emily was always jealous. I pulled the papers from her grasp. Dad wrote this because he knew you'd try to destroy me. She shook her head. No. I'm your mother. I met her eyes. And for the first time, I said the words I'd been afraid to say my whole life. No. You're the woman who raised me. But you were never my mother. She collapsed again. Screaming. Begging. Pleading. But I was done being deceived. White medium star Mark makes his decision. Mark walked toward me. Eyes red. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, he said quietly. I let her turn me against you. I believed her lies. But I'm done living under her shadow. I nodded slowly. He wiped his face. If you'll let me. I want to help you run the company. I studied him. The brother who never defended me. The brother who took everything for granted. But also the brother who was now standing on his own. For the first time in his life. I nodded once. We'll talk later. He swallowed hard in gratitude. Mom looked between us, horrified. You're choosing her? After everything I did for you? Mark whispered. You didn't do those things for me. You did them for control. Mom screamed so loudly. The windows shook. White medium star one last secret, the folder in the box. Grayson placed another envelope on the table. This was at the bottom of the storage unit drawers. He handed it to me. It had Dad's handwriting. Emily, final truth. My hands trembled. I opened it. Inside were 3 items. Heavy checkmark, a DNA test. Heavy checkmark, a letter from Dad. Heavy checkmark, a sealed court document. I read the DNA test first. But my breath caught in my chest. It wasn't a test between Dad and me. It was between Dad and Mark. I whispered. No. No, this can't. Mark rushed forward. What is it? I handed him the paper. His face drained. He whispered. Dad. Dad wasn't my father. Mom let out a blood-curdling scream. No. No. That is a lie. That is a lie. You can't. But the test was conclusive. Mark wasn't Dad's biological child. And Dad knew. Dad had always known. Mark staggered back. Like someone shot him. He looked at Mom. His voice shook. Who? Who is my father? Mom opened her mouth. But no sound came out. The truth had finally eaten her whole. And Dad's letter? It explained everything. Some truths scorch everything they touch. Others illuminate. This one did both. Mark stood frozen. His knuckles white around the DNA test. His shoulders trembling. Mom stared at the paper. Like it was a live grenade in her hand. Because she knew. This wasn't just a secret. It was the last secret. The one she never wanted anyone. Not Dad, not me, not Mark. To ever discover. She whispered, barely audible. Please, please, don't read the letter. Which, of course, meant the letter had to be read. I unfolded Dad's final message. The room held its breath. White medium star, Dad's final letter, the truth he never said in life. Dad's handwriting filled the page. It wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter. It was heartbreakingly calm. Emily. If you are reading this, then the truth about Mark has come to light. I never hated him. I never blamed him. He was an innocent child. Born into a tragedy of choices he didn't make. Mark sank into a chair, shaking. Dad continued. But I could not be the father Eleanor wanted. I tried. I tried harder than I should have. But the truth between us created a wound that never healed. Mom sobbed violently. Dad explained the impossible. Mark's biological father is a man Eleanor was involved with before our marriage. I forgave her once. But I could not forgive the lies that followed. Amanda gasped softly. Mark went pale. Mom whispered desperately. Emily, stop, please. Dad's letter went on. When she discovered Rebecca and I had you. She couldn't bear another truth existing in our home. Her fear and jealousy consumed her. She took you from Rebecca. And threatened to leave me. If I didn't agree to raise you as her own. The room went dead silent. Mark stared at Mom. You cheated on Dad? You lied about me? You lied about my father? Mom shook uncontrollably. Mark, baby, please. I thought he would leave me. I thought. I didn't want to lose everything. I didn't. But he backed away. I trusted your word more than Dad's. I believed every lie you told. And you lied about my entire existence. Mom reached for him. He stepped out of reach. For the first time. She truly had no one. White medium star Dad's last request. The letter continued. Emily. I did not tell you this sooner. Because I wanted you to grow up. Without the weight of betrayal. But you deserve the truth now. Not to punish Mark. Not to punish Eleanor. But to free yourself. I took a shaky breath. Dad finished with. You are my daughter in every way that matters. Rebecca gave you life. I gave you love. And I pray that one day. Mark finds peace too. The letter ended with. Be who you were always meant to be. Dad. I pressed the paper to my chest. Feeling his presence like a warm shadow behind me. White medium star Mom's complete collapse, her world ends. Mom fell onto her knees. Not dramatically. Not theatrically. Just. Broken. Her voice came out hollow. I lost everything. I lost both my children. I lost my husband. I lost the family I tried to keep. Mark said quietly. You didn't try to keep a family. You tried to control one. She shook her head weakly. I was scared. I was alone. I thought if I told the truth, I'd be abandoned. Her eyes lifted to mine. Emily. I don't expect forgiveness. But please. Please don't destroy me. I stared at her for a long moment. The woman who stole my identity. The woman who lied for decades. The woman who broke everyone she touched. And finally. I saw her clearly. A terrified woman. Who made monstrous choices out of fear. Not evil. Not innocent. Human. Deeply flawed. Irreparably broken. I'm not here to destroy you, I said quietly. But I'm not here to save you either. She sobbed hysterically. You're all I had. All I ever had. All I wanted was a family. I stepped back. Then you shouldn't have destroyed the one you already had. White medium star the estate is settled, and everything changes. Grayson cleared his throat. Legally, he said. We will honor your father's amended wishes. He read aloud. Heavy checkmark Emily receives 70% of the estate. Heavy checkmark Mark receives 20%. Heavy checkmark Eleanor receives 0%. Heavy checkmark Emily becomes controlling owner of Davenport Logistics. Heavy checkmark the trust fund Dad set aside for Emily is now unlocked. Heavy checkmark the court will review Mom's actions separately. Heavy checkmark Emily's birth certificate will be corrected if she chooses. Heavy checkmark money siphoned under Mom's coercion must be repaid. Mom's hands slowly slipped off the table. She whispered. I have nothing left. Grayson corrected her. No. You have consequences. White medium star Mark's choice, and his future. Mark approached me slowly. He was shaking. But not from anger. From fear. And grief. Emily, he whispered. I still want to help with the company. Not because I want power, but because it's the only thing I have left. That wasn't a lie. I took a slow breath. Then nodded. Then earn it. He nodded back. No resentment. No entitlement. For once in his life. Humility. White medium star Amanda's decision. Amanda exhaled deeply. I'm going home, she said. And Mark. We're taking time apart. Mark nodded. I understand. For once. He didn't beg or panic. He let her walk out. Without chasing her. Growth begins with stillness. White medium star Emily's final decision, her identity. Grayson asked gently. Emily. One last question. Do you want to restore your birth identity? Your real mother's name? Legally. You have the right to become Emily Hale. Instead of Emily Davenport. Mom sobbed harder. Please don't leave me like that. Not that way. Not by name. Please. Mark looked at me. Amanda watched from the doorway. I closed my eyes. I remembered Rebecca's letter. I hope one day you will find the truth without anger in your heart. I opened my eyes and said, I want both names. Grayson blinked. I beg your pardon? I want to be Emily Hale Davenport. Hale, for where I came from. Davenport, for the man who raised me. Mark's eyes shined with emotion. Mom's face twisted with agony. But this time, her pain didn't break me. Her pain wasn't my responsibility. I was choosing me. My identity. My truth. My story. White medium star the final scene, Emily claims her future. 2 weeks later. I stood at the vineyard Dad always loved. The sun sank golden behind the hills. Lavender swayed in the wind. The air smelled like summer, soil, and second chances. Mark walked beside me quietly. We looked at the sunset. Two siblings bound by blood. But not defined by it. Mark whispered. I'm proud of you. I nodded. Then looked up at the sky. As if Dad were standing right behind me. Thank you, I whispered. For protecting me. For preparing the truth. For giving me a future my mother never wanted me to have. The wind answered with a soft breeze. And in that moment, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel stolen. I didn't feel unwanted. I felt whole. For the first time in my life, I finally belonged to myself.